Imagine you're in the grocery store and your child throws themselves on the floor screaming because you won't buy the cereal they want. Your heart's racing, you feel everyone staring, you feel like you might snap. But what if I told you that a single pause in that moment could completely change the outcome? Today, we're going to be talking about the revolutionary power of the pause. This is a deceptively simple tool that can transform your parenting and your relationship with your child. So I first want you to understand why your reactions are so automatic. And it has to do with our nervous system. So we have this fight, flight, or freeze response. And think of your nervous system like your body's internal alarm system. If your kid is having a meltdown in the grocery store or refusing to put on shoes when you're already running late, your body's alarm can suddenly start going off. So that alarm system has those three main emergency responses, which is fight, flight, or freeze. So, the fight is if you're feeling the urge to yell or lecture or impose consequences. Maybe your voice is loud, your muscles are tensing, you have this kind of surge of energy. The flight response looks like avoiding, walking away, shutting down. Maybe you pick up your phone to scroll. You're really escaping the situation. Sometimes maybe it looks like you're too busy because you feel this need to get away from the stress. You don't know how to deal with it. And then the freeze is if you find yourself standing there, frozen, completely overwhelmed. Maybe you're unable to think clearly or remember any strategies that you may have heard. You really just feel stuck or blank or disconnected. It's like your brain has gone offline temporarily. All of these reactions are automatic protective responses that just evolved to keep humans safe from physical dangers. So understanding how the brain functions and why really helps me, at least, bring some compassion to whatever situation I'm in. I'm like, oh, my brain is just trying to keep me safe. The problem is that your body can't tell the difference between the physical dangers, if it's a tiger or the tantruming toddler, because both trigger that same alarm system. So if your fight, flight, or freeze response activates, you can't access your prefrontal cortex, which is the thinking part of your brain. It just temporarily takes a back seat. And stress hormones flood your system, your heart rate increases, your breathing gets shallow, so you're not able to breathe deeply into your body, which you need to trigger that relaxation response. Your muscles tense, so it's harder to relax. And your ability to listen and problem solve decreases. So it has these cognitive responses as well. The good news is that this pause that I'm talking about, your pause button, interrupts this automatic process. So if you pause, you're essentially telling your nervous system, I see you. Thank you for trying to protect me, but I'm not in actual danger here, and I can handle this situation thoughtfully rather than reactively. This is the power of this pause, and it's so beautiful. The pause creates just enough space for your thinking brain to come back online, allowing you to respond to your child. If your child is tantruming or whatever the difficult situation is, you can respond from a place of calm and access that thinking brain. So you can also come from a place of wisdom, right? You can think through it rather than just instinctively reacting. It's beautiful. So our brains are wired for those quick responses if it's a survival or it is a survival mechanism, like you're trying to survive. I've explained before the concept of flipping your lid. And I think I shared, this is how I really teach kids to understand how their brain works. Your amygdala becomes active and it kind of takes control, which is why it's so much harder to access that front part of your brain. And so the other thing to keep in mind is, as a parent, sometimes we're triggered because of our past experiences and some of our childhood experiences, sometimes traumatic, right? Because that pattern has been ingrained in us. And so that is part of our subconscious programming as well. And that also plays a part. So the pause, again, it affects your brain and your body. There's a physiological effect. So when you pause, you are lowering your cortisol. You can activate the thinking part of your brain. There's something I share about emotions. If you are truly able to feel an emotion and you allow it and it's processed properly, it can move through your body. It only takes 90 seconds. Scientifically, they said that emotions are going to run through your system within 90 seconds. If an emotion lasts longer than that, it's a signal that you are creating thoughts about that emotion. And we do this all the time as humans. We want to justify our actions or our feelings, and often they're judgment thoughts. But if you're able to pause and become aware of if you are having thoughts, or check in with the emotion you're feeling and truly just be with it, let that emotion move through you, it will come and it will go, right? The wave skill. It comes and goes like a wave. Pausing interrupts the automatic stress cycle and our pattern of creating thoughts around these emotions. So the pause is so powerful. I'll talk more here about how it interrupts that automated stress cycle. When we deliberately pause during a stressful moment, probably a stressful parenting moment, we're actually disrupting a biological cascade, I guess, that's designed to be automatic. Without the pause, the stress cycle is pretty predictable. There's a trigger event where your child is defiant, your amygdala is activated, right? Where your brain is sensing a threat, it sends out the emergency signals. You have this release of hormones. There's a physical response, or your heart races due to the cortisol and adrenaline. And there's a mental narrowing where the thinking brain gets temporarily bypassed, and then you have this automatic reaction. Typically, it's we snap, we yell, we threaten, or we avoid, we withdraw. And then there's this escalation loop where, due to co-regulation, your child can sense your stress, right? So then their stress is increased. It creates this negative loop of ineffective behaviors. So the pause can break this cycle. When you deliberately pause, even if it's just for a few seconds, you create this pattern interrupt. So the pause creates a momentary break in this automatic sequence, and it's like pulling the emergency brake. You have this physiological reset. So maybe during that pause, you just take a few quick, deep breaths. I say quick, they should be slow, because deep breathing is going to, during the pause, it's going to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest. It's the opposite of fight or flight, that stress response. That's what we want, the parasympathetic, the calm. The deep breathing should trigger that relaxation response. And the way I teach people to access it quickly, especially when we're upset, it's very difficult to slow our breathing. So your inhale is probably going to be fairly quick. Try to control the exhale and make the exhale longer than the inhale. And that will begin to slow your breath, trigger the relaxation, and get that deep breathing going. So you have this physiological reset that you can trigger during the pause with deep breathing. You're also going to have hormone regulation. The pause is going to reduce the cortisol production because, again, you're stopping that automatic stress cycle. You can stop that hormone release. And this is beautiful. You can increase your oxytocin, which is the connection hormone. There's also a calming neurotransmitter. I can't remember the name of it, but the pause can help you create good hormones as well as counteracting the ones that are not healthy for us. You will get to re-engage that prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of your brain, and have a choice in how you respond. So instead of reacting automatically, you gain the ability to choose your response intentionally. And then there's this emotional contagion where it's co-regulation. Your regulated state is going to help your child's emotion. This is why even a 5-second pause can dramatically change the outcome of a difficult or challenging parenting moment. You're essentially creating a fork in the road, redirecting your nervous system from that automatic stress path to a calmer, more thoughtful one. And the beauty of this pause is that it doesn't require anything complex. There's no big technique to this. It's accessible. Even in the heat of the moment, you just have to remember to do it. It becomes more powerful with practice because of neuroplasticity. Your brain can create these new neural pathways that makes taking that pause more automatic over time. It's awesome. So I've given you a lot of the science behind it. Now I want to get more into how to teach it to your child through modeling. This is really going to help you as well. So a lot of times we hear, do as I say, not as I do. And we know that doesn't work because kids read into that. They don't respect our words if it's not followed up by action. I've worked with kids for a long time and I hear them say, so-and-so doesn't respect me, or they never keep their word. Kids know you can't trick them. So they can tell if you're authentic or not. So it's important to actually practice what you preach. So narrate your own pause. It's okay to say something like, hey, mom needs a moment. I need to calm down my brain. I need to calm down my body. I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be right back. That's one awesome thing to do. They can really respect that, and they're going to pick up on it and know that it's okay for them to do the same. It's okay for them to have that same behavior. Everyone gets upset. That's normal. That's human. You don't need to hide that. Own it. Like, just say, I'm frustrated right now. I'm going to use a self-soothe strategy, or I'm going to turn on some music to help me shift my energy. I'm going to talk to you in 5 minutes. And then celebrate when your child uses the pause as well, especially if they start to take ownership of it and use it independently. I've talked in past podcast episodes about making a game out of it. So totally up to you. Have some fun with it. Story time. This is an actual situation where I had to take a pause, and I used some tools. I received a call from the school nurse. My daughter she wasn't with me that week. She was with her dad. And I was like 30 minutes away from her. But that morning she had taken some cold medicine on top of Benadryl and tried to go to school. She was at school, but she couldn't stay awake because I guess her dad wasn't able to be with her to guide her through how to take the medication, and you shouldn't take Benadryl during the day typically because it makes you sleepy. And maybe she had mistakenly taken a PM cold medicine. I don't know because I wasn't there, which added to my frustration and lack of control. So the school nurse was telling me this situation, and it was pretty scary because I wasn't there and I just didn't know what was going on with her. And I'm about to walk in to teach skills to a group of young kids. So I was certainly dysregulated myself and needed to pull it together if I was going to be able to support other people. So I know the tools and what works for me best. So when I hung up the phone, when I realized there's nothing I can do, I can't get there anytime soon, I had to kind of put a pin in it. And I wasn't able in the moment to access my thinking brain. There was no way I could come up with a solution. I was super flustered because I was short on time. I didn't want to be late for my session. I was far away. I didn't have the whole story. Like, a lot of things were out of control. So I did 4-7-8 breath. It took me several rounds to get control of my breath. So I inhaled for a count of 4. I held it for as long as I could. And then I did a slow, intentional exhale, trying to double the length. Inhale for 4, hold maybe 6, maybe I got it up to 7. And then an exhale of 8. And I did that for more than 10 rounds. I remember I had to keep going until I could slow down my brain and realize I couldn't solve this problem right then. I couldn't help my daughter. And honestly, I don't remember if I sent a text to her dad or made a phone call or if I was able to talk with her. I just remember being really upset, taking a pause and using a strategy to help me get it together so I could go in and serve other people. And the reason that is a helpful story to share is because it had a ripple effect. If I had lost control, if I had responded automatically out of fear or anger, or my past response was typically to avoid, I might have not done my session, not served the kids, tried to drive 30 minutes to get to her. I don't know that any of my actions would have been effective. So, real life situation, story of how it's important to take a pause and to try to access that wise mind. What is going to be most effective in this moment? What is going to be most helpful for everyone involved? So my takeaway, implement a 5-second pause ritual with a breath, and then skill stack. Add another tool. Maybe it's an affirmation. A typical one that I sometimes say is, I am calm and strong. My husband repeats that to me. He kind of created that one for me. Remember who you want to be, and then respond like that person, like your higher self, like the parent you want to be, rather than reacting. So this pause is a new process you're creating where you notice your triggers. You stop, physically pause your movement, take an inhale and a longer exhale, and then skill stack. Add an affirmation or movement or cold water on the face. That's one that I use pretty often. This pause is so important, and it's backed up by research. And my own dissertation backs it up. My dissertation shows that when grown-ups use coping skills themselves, that's really when we see the kid behaviors change. And modeling that pause is so important. One of my participants actually shared that she told her class She was really frustrated and needed a break. She stepped into the hall. She took a few breaths, regulated herself, and returned calm and clear-headed. So she used that pause, and it helped her access her thinking brain, which was getting hijacked. She was getting triggered. Kids really know how to push our triggers or push our buttons sometimes. So the teacher could, by taking the pause, she was then able to support her class with their frustrating behaviors and help reset them. So again, that ripple effect. You're affecting other people with the good choices you make. We also affect people with not so great choices, but you get the point. And my coaching philosophy is that everyone needs regulation tools. Everyone experiences stress, so coping skills are needed for everyone. This pause is one simple tool that serves grown-ups, kids, and if you join my coaching program, I would help you use personalized tools for whatever your situations are. I like to make tools fun and engaging because grown-ups need that too, right? We need fun. And it's really about mindful parenting, right? We need to add some fun in, and that supports powerful transformation for the whole family. So that's really what I help families with. So I would love to see your pause in action, pause power this week. If you try the 5-second pause ritual we talked about today, please let me know when it works, because it will. Post about your experience, comment here, or tag me. Visit me on Instagram at @ashdelucia, or join the Facebook group Mental Health Support and Behavior Coaching, or you could even comment on YouTube. And I'll send you a special resource. Anyone who shares, I'll send you a resource for sharing. Thanks for listening, my loves. Hang in there and cope well.